right, welcome back everyone. This is the Happy Toolbox, and this week I'm going to be showing you how I created this unified mesh stylized Lego hair look I've got going on here. And more importantly, how you can set this up and have pretty decent geometry to work with at the end of it, while also still keeping the whole thing completely live. So you can totally change the haircuts to however you want them to work. Maybe you need multiple characters, etc. You know, if you need a super sick emo character, you can totally do that. In this intro piece, I actually used a ton of sweep NURBs to create this look I've got going on here, as you see. But in the tutorial following, I just did really quick kind of cloner objects, so you'll get to also witness the worst haircut of all time in that. So if you're interested, stick around and let's get started. Okay, so to keep this quick and simple, I grabbed the head and kind of this receding hairline haircut off of one of the characters from our Everyday People pack. It's a pack on our website that just has a bunch of kind of miniature train-ish characters that you can grab if you want to. But I assume you have your character and you're looking to do some stylized haircuts on this thing. To get this base level of haircut, this is really simple. I just kind of took the base of my head geometry, and as long as you have somewhat decent topology, it doesn't have to be perfect, you can kind of highlight a section like this, grab that, right click and say split, and what that's going to do is that's going to create a separate piece of geometry that then you can extrude with caps on to kind of get something like this. So you really don't need much for this, but you need some type of base starting haircut that then you can build all of the hairstyles onto. You all are probably going to make way sweeter hairstyles than I am, but I just want to show you this really great tip for creating, hairstyles, and then more importantly, making decent geometry out of them and messing with that. So to do that, I'm going to pull my hair out of this little group so I have it separate. And what I want to do here to create some type of hairstyle is, you could do a lot of routes. Sometimes I do splines with like sweeps. I think just for ease of tutorial's sake, I'm going to kind of make more of like a curly head of hair. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to make a cloner object. I'm going to grab a sphere, kind of scale it down a little bit, and then also drop the segments down a little bit to around 8. I'm going to drop that into my cloner, and then I'm going to change my cloner to object and then point my hair into that object section. It'll look kind of funky at first, but I'm going to change that from surface to vertex. And now I get this pretty sweet fro going on here. I'm liking how this is looking. Kind of looks like a clown wig. So again, you will be making way better hairstyles than I'm making in this tutorial. But for tutorial's sake, we got this sick fro going on. From here, what I want to show is, especially if I'm making, sweeps of single hairs of tubes kind of across this guy's head, if you want that style of individualized giant spheres on his head, or kind of the more appropriate kind of tube sweep look going on, go for it. But if you want kind of unified mesh geometry, a really handy way to do that is you take your cloner object or whatever objects you have on this character's head. You have your base hair and your cloner, and you put them inside of a volume builder. So I'm going to put both of these in a volume builder. I'm going to get a pretty cool pixelated clown wig right here. But then I'm going to grab a volume mesher and put that inside. At first this looked pretty terrible, but once you go into your volume builder and kind of start messing with some of this, I'm going to drop this down to like, say 3. So I'm getting more of this individualized look going on. And then inside of the volume mesher, maybe I'll kind of change this range to around 70. So it's adapting a little bit more to the size. Maybe I'll pull the adaptiveness up, so I'm getting something a little bit better. And from here, you might stop here and be like, oh, this is great. But as you can see, the geometry kind of gets crazier and crazier And you definitely notice some pinching, some crazy peaks and valleys going on here. So the final step that I like to do that really merges all of this together is something that is newer to Cinema 4D, and that is called a remesh. So if I grab that and stack my volume mesher inside of that, you can then choose what the mesh density should look like and poly count. So let's say I drop my mesh density down to like 10. There you go. Look at that. It's way cleaner. You know, you got some triangles going on, but those shouldn't matter too much unless you're trying to fully rig and animate this hair. But you have much more simplistic geometry to work with that if you needed to clean up, you could, which I was like. And then more importantly, you've kind of made this one hairstyle so far, but it is a non-destructive workflow. And from there, you can continuously add things to it. I can take this sphere, I can scale it up, I can scale it down. I can add geometry into this. All of your hair sweeps that were more individualized should come together nicely, which to me is more of that stylized look. You know, it's kind of more towards a Lego hairstyle than it is a hyper real hair simulation style, right? And I love this too because a lot of times I need to make a lot of different hairstyles. It's not just about one character. So you can always throw stuff into this setup. Let's say I just have this beard piece that I kind of extrude off of my character. It is cutting his mouth in half. Maybe we'll fix that later. But I can just throw this into my hairstyling, and there you go. You've got Moses. Oh, he's a beaut. He's a beaut. So hopefully this tutorial helps. Again, probably one of the worst hairstyles you've ever seen in a tutorial created. But the point is, I think this is a really helpful tip. You can generate really nice stuff here and kind of be a little bit more sloppy with your geometry, because at the end, you're going to be able to get something nice and workable with that remesher, volume builder setup. So if you would like this video and subscribe to the channel, that always helps me out a ton. If you have any comments, leave them in the comment section below. Specifically, I'd love to hear what y'all think this hairstyle should be called that I've created. And as always, if you're interested in any 3D models, head on over to thehappytoolbox.com. Again, we got some really cool miniature characters going on here if you want to grab any of those, even from the standpoint of having some of this base geometry to work with. All right, I'll catch you next time.